Let's give it up for our next TED-like talk. Let's give it up for our next TED-like talk.
Good morning, guys. I think last 2 or 3 days we've been talking a lot about AI and UX. So we thought, let's talk something a little different. So today we're going to talk about a movie. How many of you have seen this movie? Oh, wow. A lot of people have seen this movie. Great, great, great. For the people who have not seen this movie, I'll summarize this movie for you. It's a simple story. There is a hero. He discovers a gadget which makes him go invisible. And with this power, he fights the evil Mukambo. And he wants to protect a bunch of orphan kids, which is like their family. The story is simple as this. But of course, the conference is about AI, so we'll have to add a little twist. So we're going to talk about Mr. India and Mr. AI. We see a lot of similarities. They both are invisible, like a magic. And they solve a lot of problems. But so we're going to talk about specific problem today, that how Mr. AI is solving problem for businesses. And hence, our topic is leveraging applied AI for mission-critical decisions in business. Woohoo! Jargons. I feel no UX presentation is complete without jargons. But let me simplify this jargon for you. Question is simple. What is mission critical? It's this. For Mr. India, the gadget is the mission critical. It's the core of his functioning of going invisible. Similarly, for businesses, anything which is essential, the process, the tool, the platform, which is essential for the core functioning of the business is the mission critical. And, we have seen a pattern. In Mr. India, the gadget is a mission critical and everyone wants it. In today's world, AI is becoming a mission critical and everyone wants it. Everyone is in a race to adopt this new technology to gain a competitive edge and eventually get a larger market share. But to do all of this, you need money. You need capital. And when you need capital in this industry, where do people go? They go to VCs. And what do VC wants? VC wants that gadget, that magic. If your product don't have Gen AI, VC is not going to entertain you. So what do people do? What do companies do? Company rush for bland adoption. Without thinking, they just take the existing Gen AI paradigm, slap it onto their existing application, just to make
Mogambo. Ushua.
VCs are happy, but who is taking the toll? Our users are taking the toll, and of course, business is feeling the burn. And it's not just we are saying, industry is saying this. Like, people say that 92% have problem with the reliability of AI. 73% still doubts the decision-making power of the AI. And skill gap, yes, we all are aware, still we are very far to adopt AI. Right? Okay, enough of Gyan. Let's talk something real. I'll let Suraj talk about it.
Cool. Thank you so much, Suman. So let's look at an experience which we had created for a medicine company, one of our clients. They were a leader in the medicine field and they had created a sales analytics tool for their sales analysts. And in the first meeting that we met with this client, the first thing that they said is, guys, we have built a superb product, right? And it was so superb that when they approach their customers, they show a demo. The customers immediately love it and immediately sign up. It's something like this actually.
क्या कमरा है? ओ कमरा, कमरे के आगे balcony, balcony के आगे garden, और garden के आगे समंदर, और 24 घंटे ठंडी हवा, 24 hours, वो भी बिल्कुल free मैडम, बिल्कुल free.
मैंने कमरा ले लिया.
Right? I mean, like without even a second thought, like how Sridevi signed up, the customers signed up, right? And then we asked them the obvious question, like, why do you want to redesign this application? So they took a pause and then they told us, initially, these conversations with the customers go very well, right? We help them configure their databases, we do a bit of training for them, and then they still love it. They even go ahead and say things like,
Fantastic! Fantastic!
but what we then realized is that the person saying fantastic, they were not the users, but they were the buyers of the product. In fact, the users, they actually abandoned the tool within the first month, almost 50% of them. Now, this was an alarming number for us, and because of which we decided, okay, we'll do our design process and we'll try to understand this persona, right? What are their user goals of the sales analyst? So they do a lot of forecasting, they do a lot of comparative reports, they create a lot of sales strategies, and then from there, they actually work with their sales teams to execute these strategies. Now, to do this, today what they have to do is they have to go through a bunch of reports from various databases and calls. They take all of that data, they put it into a BI tool like Tableau or Excel, and then from there they extract their insights and they prepare sales plans and reports which they share with their board members, right? Now the problem with all of this is that it takes a lot of time to do these analysis, and because it's a manual process, it can lead to errors. And if there is any error in any part of this, it can lead to a direct business loss, right? So this is the scenario, and our client told us, guys, we have built this amazing product to solve this mission critical pain. And this product, it looks something like this. Seems familiar to you? Yeah, I mean, it seemed familiar to our customers as well because it looked just like ChatGPT. There's a box, I can probably ask a question and it'll hopefully give me an answer as well, right? But in reality, what happened is that the system didn't even understand the question, right? And when they started asking questions, it started giving me answers in completely different areas, right? It was not even relevant. And many a times, they even gave errors, like it was the 1990s or something. In fact, it reminded us of something like this.
या तो यहाँ पर रॉन्ग नंबर लगते हैं या जब लगाने के लिए फोन उठाओ तो दूसरे टेलीफोनों की आवाज है पचरंगी प्रोग्राम चलता रहता है
Right? So, and many a times when it actually gave some data, the users struggled because they had issues in trusting this data. And finally, once they actually saw the data, just like any enterprise application, you would want to do more to it. You'd want to dig deeper. That was also not possible. So we realized that there were problems across the board. And to figure out how we actually solved it, I'll hand it back to Suman.
Yeah. So, of course, there were problems. There were problems in UI, but not only in UI, there were problems in backend as well. So, as an integrated experience team, we said, first thing we need to do is that investigate the backend. And a backend seems a very simple RAG pipeline. A user will ask the question, system will understand the question, extract the documents from the vector DB, LLM will analyze it and give the insights to the user. But when we started digging deeper, we realized there was a problem with the encoder. It was not able to understand the natural language questions that users are asking for. And our team suggested that this system needs a distributed model. We said we need to introduce two LLMs. One LLM will be trained only to understand the natural language questions that users are asking for. So accurate document can be fetched, and another LLM will only be trained to do the analysis and provide insights. With this refined backend pipeline, this was the envisioned solution. The first thing we did is that we created a balance between the GenAI component and the insights. It is very important to put insights upfront because this becomes a starting thread for our users to start their research. But let's assume that a user has to rush for a board meeting and he wants to give a quick sales updates. So they can simply ask a question. And now with the refined backend, system will be able to tell user that we are analyzing, we are understanding, we are fetching a document, and result will be provided in multiple formats. It can be graphs, charts, text, based on the nature of the question. Not only that, we extended further and we said this graphs has to be interactive. It also highlights the area where user needs to focus. They can see a dip in a sales in a particular period. So user can actually interact with this result. Not only that, we have to build confidence. Remember, user is questioning whether the data is accurate. They can actually click and look at the all the raw data which is lying underneath. This builds a lot of confidence in users. And of course, standard paradigm, we gave them a follow-up questions that why there was a dip, and system user will click that, and system will tell them the reasons that why there was a dip in this particular period, right? But yes, no system is perfect. There will be errors thrown, but we don't want user to hang in the deadlocks, right? So we will suggest them how they can actually resolve this question. So when we tested this with few of the internal users, a small pilot was conducted. First thing that customer did was they said, let's remove our support staff, because most of the revenue, most of the investment was going in support staff. They slashed the support staff drastically. And of course, we realized that there is a really lot of improved engagement. Users are now engaging with this product quite much, right? So one of the biggest learning in this entire project was that AI is not a product. It's just the feature. You need to know how to use it, right? And with this, we'll talk about one more flavor, and I'd like Suresh to talk about it.
Thanks again, Suman. So let's look at another flavor of AI which we had worked in. So how many of you folks are product managers or have worked with product managers? Yeah, fair number of you folks, right? So let's try to get into their shoes, because this, what we're going to talk about, is relevant to them. So the most important mission critical activity for a product manager is to be on top of their customers' feedback. And to do that today, what they need to do is they need to go through all of their channels of feedback, which may be Play Store, App Store, internal Slack channels, and so on. They'll then need to collect multiple mountains of data, many of which are very long, many of which are quite irrelevant. And you have to take all of this and then put it into probably an Excel. And then you'll have to do a lot of searching, and you may have to add some filters, some formulas, and then finally you've got a filtered set of data which you can actually extract insights from. And now the worst part about all of this is that every time the user wants to do this, they want fresh insights, they have to do this process again and again and again, right? So this was a major pain. And what we did is, we worked with a product which actually claimed to solve this mission critical problem. Right? They said that, we have a solution which will aggregate all of this feedback for you. And the interface that they did that in was this, right? I mean, the user is supposed to get insights from this. I mean, it's no better than the Excel in the first place, right? So we didn't want to do that. We wanted to redo the experience entirely. So what we realized is that these product managers, they have very specific questions that they need answered from their customers' feedback. And we realized that generative AI would be perfect over here. So what did we do? When the user came across long lists of feedback, we gave them the ability to ask a question that, hey, what are my paid customers saying right now? And generative AI would go through all the feedback. It will then extract the insights and summarize it in a simple manner, right? Now, what we realized is that the users kept asking this question again and again and again because they liked it. So what we did is we took these insights and we put it into their monitoring dashboard, which would automatically fetch new data and insights. And the best part is that these insights are inspectable so that you can get to the raw feedback which the users actually said. This built a lot of trust. Now, this is a dashboard, so it's very obvious that the users want to customize their own dashboard, right? They would want to add their own widgets, right? So today, in this mundane world of ours, how do we actually add widgets? You would actually go and click on the create button. You'll have to figure out which analysis you want. You have to understand this form. You have to play around with the various knobs, choose the right visualization, save it, and then add it back into the main dashboard, right? I mean, it's a mundane process. It takes a lot of time. And in most cases, Mr. India would just say, hey, it's just easier for me to save the world. So we didn't want to do any of this. We wanted to make it a much more smarter experience. So again, generative AI was perfect over here because all we needed to do was we had to give them an AI-powered widget. Because it has access to the data, the visualizations already, all we needed to do was allow the user to tell us, hey, give me an analysis on the overall sentiment. And the generative AI could actually do that for you. It could actually get the data, choose the right visualization, and summarize it. It was actually very similar to something like this, wherein you just give it a small prod, and AI will take care of the rest of the journey for you. right? So these actually translated into real world benefits. For the user, there were 40% of insights were from AI-led workflows, and that too in the first 3 months. And these insights were greatly trusted. And for the business, they were able to penetrate into multiple markets and multiple other user groups as well, not just product managers, because of this infusion of AI. And this secured their next rounds of funding, right? So we had actually worked in many other domains of AI as well, so I'll hand it over to Suman to walk you through them.
Yeah, so at Copods, we deal with a lot of enterprise world. And as you can see, name the domain, and I think we have a project in that: banking, finance, law, insurance, cybersecurity, all of that. Not going to take much time. I'll quickly skim through few of more projects, but very fast, right? So this was in the supply chain where you don't see a lot of AI, but there's a lot of AI and ML effort has gone behind while rendering these screens, for the manufacturers and inventory managers to monitor all the data. This is in vision computing, a system which has been installed in a manufacturing unit, a chip manufacturing unit, where AI is doing a lot of job of detecting errors and defect. But of course, there was a human who is monitoring that. So with a perfect combination of human and AI, we were able to reduce 50% of that time to inspect things. This was in retail analytics, where marketeers, they want to analyze whether their campaigns are doing good or not, right? And they can, of course, use AI to do all of that. And this was in a cybersecurity, very complex world. New people will not understand, so definitely an AI will play a very important role to navigate them through the applications, right? So all of this, we've been working with our clients over years, versions over versions, from their inception to that Series A to B and on and on. That's generally the journey we have with our client. And it wouldn't have been possible without a core belief of balanced experience, design, and engineering. We believe designers and engineers has equal say on a table of product development and design, right? And at Copods, our motto is to work hard, play hard, just like our presentation. And the result is that, we have close to 0% attrition rate, not only in our team members, but also our clients. As I said, our clients go over years with us. And of course, I've talked about domains. We work on a lot of domains. And we've been doing this for the last 7 years. And it wouldn't have been possible without these crazy bunch of designers and engineers that, we work with. And this entire team has been led by 3 of us, Anish, Kamlesh, and myself. We have a total of 55 years of experience in industry. And we've been enabling companies to stay ahead with these meaningful experiences, ranging from Fortune 500, young unicorns, to early startup. These are few of the names I'm sure you can resonate with, right? Just to conclude our story, we believe in today's world, software is a working man's bread and butter. And of course, we are here to reshape it, to make it better, AI way of life. So our product managers, our VCs, and our users can be happy.
Mogembo! Hushua!
Thank you, guys.
So I think you guys mentioned a lot about there are applications which you build on AI, right? So there are 2 parts of this question. First is, can you talk more about data? Like what was the data? Was it procured from the clients, whichever products you worked on? And how do you manage that data? Is it like LLMs were trained on that, or did you guys got a help from any other thing? Second part is about the accuracy of the data. So whichever platform or application which we are using, how do you manage to gauge the accuracy of it? So that's my question.
Sure. Yeah, so, as I said that we work in a very specific enterprise world, right? So data is definitely secured, right? These are not the public data which is available. Like any general GPTs of the world will use a general data. This is not the case. This is a case where users or the client who will use this product, they have their own set of data and they are building that, training their own LLMs, right? So the question of data is definitely solved, right? Because like sales analyst is basically looking to resolve things in his company. He wants to do the sales strategy for his company. And hence, he's bothered about how he can analyze the data which is in that company, right? These are the global medical companies which is across the world. So they are combining all the data across the world, right? And accuracy, yes, there's a lot of effort goes from the engineering side. Since the data is inside, the trainings are easier, faster, and accuracy can be achieved much better, right? But yeah, we face a lot of problems in terms of the problems which general world don't face is that there are very specific, domain-specific words and jargons like medicine names and stuff. To train LLM specifically for that, that takes a lot of time because there where the error comes a lot in the enterprise world. I hope I answered the question.
Hey, I'm Shivam. This was super entertaining and informative as well. So,
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask was the first slide that you showed was around how inaccurate AI can be sometimes in terms of reliability and accuracy. And AI is also prone to a lot of hallucinations and it'll give you a lot of like incorrect data as well. So how did you prevent that, like hallucinations from like working on the data and giving inaccurate information on some of the data as well?
Yeah. That's again, it's a similar answer. Like, the hallucination and the inaccuracy happens when, it's for general purpose. Like a general ChatGPT is gonna comb through numerous number of data. And when they will not find it, then the thing of hallucination will come into picture, right? But here, your boundaries are quite limited, right? So the better you train your model with the limited amount of data, and the users are pretty much aware that, what's the boundary that you're working in, right? They will not go into a sales analytics application and ask about what's the, like how we will talk to GPT. They will not talk like that. But yes, we still face a lot of hallucination. I think that's what the entire conversation is going on, that technology at nascent stage, rests when people are working towards improving it, making it better and better. But with that, the problem of hallucination, yes, there are pros and cons. Best we can do is do a little bit of tell the users that we are not perfect. You need to ask better and stuff like that. But what we believe is that AI will definitely improve tomorrow. Tomorrow, the problem of hallucination will definitely go away. Suraj, you want to add?
So yeah, it's an interesting question, and Suman covered a good chunk of it. One interesting thing that we have done is, because all of the claims that is made by any of these AI models is grounded in real data, especially in our case, right? It's based on some sort of training data. So there was an interesting thing which we did with the first project, wherein only if a claim could be made can you actually present it to the end user, which means that every claim should be inspectable. You should be able to get to the raw data, right? So if it can't get to the raw data, it means it cannot actually hallucinate. We did face issues still, but it solved a major chunk of those issues. So basically, to summarize, the idea that we are working within a fixed boundary of data, that helps a lot in these kinds of use cases, and that's where it's different from ChatGPTs of the world.
Got it. I have more questions, but I'll probably ask you offline. So
Sure.
Thanks for the answer.
Okay, hi. I got another question. So I loved your presentation, and everything you do in AI is amazing. But my question is more in terms of your storytelling. How is it that you found that this movie would be so accurate for the use case that you're showing? And how did you get the exact perfect snippets for every moment?
That's really a great question, because when I came up with this idea and I shared this idea with Suraj, and I had this story in my head that we'll put this, and the same question Suraj asked it, how can you remember that this particular scene will fit here so well? So at that point, if I answered him, and I'm going to answer the same thing, is that maybe this was the first movie when I saw in a movie theater when I was a child. And it had a really great impact. I remember it like, I can relay the entire movie scene by scene. There's so much in my head. And the thing of AI started coming in. I always felt that AI is such a beautiful thing. Like, it's invisible, but it is helping us, right? And then I was able to connect dots, like, I was able to make that analogy that Anil Kapoor is, invisible and helping poor people and needy people. And I was like, this is it. This is our story. Yeah, it just stuck to my mind. Thank you.
Yeah,
Hope you guys had fun.